NARI is a government subvented institution established by an Act of Parliament in 1993. Because if you look at the history of NARI, NARI started as a single commodity pre-independent research program. Then it evolved into research and special services unit under the Department of Agriculture. Then it morphed into Department of Agriculture Research. And then in 1993, it became NARI. This is the history of NARI. And this was before independent. It was single commodity. What I mean by it was only gravel. They are trying to research on something like that. Mainly gravel. Until today, what we have today, taking care of all the commodities, including non-staple foods. New ones are coming up.
I work in the pest management unit. We conduct research on biological, at field level on biological, chemical, cultural, and then botanical. And the specimens collected from the field are brought to the laboratory for identification and isolation in the case of diseases.
I am a trained practical horticulturist and at the same time the head of the horticulture unit of NARI. Horticulture is a branch under agriculture, which it deals with vegetables. When we say vegetable, tomato, cucumber, onion, carrot, all these are vegetables, and it also deals with fruits, mango, citrus, avocado, and the others. And it also deals with flowers and ornamentals. Like we see, this is used for landscaping and also keeping the place beautiful. Horticulture is generally in these three broad aspects.
And I'm the head of the Grain, Legume and Oilseed program under the National Agricultural Research Institute, NARI. That which means that the groundnut, cowpea, sesame, any oilseed crops and grain crops get in those programs. Then secondly, also I am advisor to the crop research program because I retired from director of crop research. So now I am contracted as the head of the Grain, Legume and Oilseed program and advisor to the crop research program.
So I'm one of the program directors in charge of the cropping systems and then the agroforestry. And then what this program does mainly is environmental crop soil related studies. One of our crop specialists, that's Mr. Drame. They are the breeders and then the people who actually handle the crop from the basics. That's the screening part of it. Okay, but then when you're done with that, the crops also needs to adapt environmentally. Okay, because that's the essence. You need to adapt them to the different environments and then also to the different farming systems. Okay, so that's the end product. So that's where our work comes in mainly. Okay, we try to take these crops from them and then try them in the different environments to see how they'll adapt, but also to see how they respond to the different inputs. For example, most of the crops will require fertilizer. Okay, but then how much of the fertilizer do we need to apply? What times do we need to apply them? Okay, so those are some of the things. They need to adapt to this certain ecologies. Are they suitable for this kind of environment, that kind of environment? So at cropping systems, that's what we are focused on mainly.
Our operation initially was based on commodity programs. That means we had 12 programs here. But due to current realities, including the NDP, we all know that the NDP places high hopes, expectation on the ability of agriculture to lift small-scale producers from poverty, out of poverty and food insecurity. So we thought of, and of course including climate change and other things, and also to make us more relevant to our clients. So we thought of doing some restructuring and streamlining. Now we have, because of that restructuring, we have 7 programs. We call them directorates. And these are the Directorate of Crop Research, Directorate of Cropping System and Agroforestry, Directorate of Livestock and Aquaculture, Directorate of Agricultural Engineering and Farm Management, Directorate of Integrated Pest and Disease Management, Directorate of Agriculture and Rural Economics, and the Directorate of Food Chemistry and Aflatoxin Research. These are the 7 directorates that we are operating as a result of this streamlining. Of course, also because of resources and we have to merge some of these programs. It used to be 12 programs.
Yeah, as the Director of Research, I work with all the other programs within this institute, because this particular institute has 7 research directorates. So I worked hand in hand with all those research programs to develop research plans that are in line with the mandate of this institute.
Our mandate is to improve agricultural production and productivity in this country, or come up with technological solution to the problem of our producers. We inform policy makers on that, the best options for that. So this is our mandate, and our strategic objective is to also participate or contribute in the attainment of national policy program or objectives of enhance household food security, increase income for the smallholders, and also to generally contribute to the national economy. If you look at the 8 strategic points of the NDP, the third one that says to transform our agriculture and fisheries for sustained economic growth, food and nutritional security, and poverty reduction. You cannot do that. You cannot achieve success in agriculture if you leave research behind. Because research is supposed to be if agriculture is engine of economic growth, as people used to say, then research is the lubricant. Without the lubricant, the engine is not functional. So you can never leave research. NARI is the entry point of all new germplasm resources here. You cannot bring seed into this country without coming through NARI. It could be catastrophic. We are the only people who have the capability of managing these things. We test them to our environment, local environment, and then we certify it. Of course, through NSS. I think you know about NSS, National Seed Secretariat. When we have things, we are responsible for the production of breeder seed. Once we produce this breeder seed, we give them to NSS for certification. And this goes through a lot of processes, committees, and so committees have to endorse all these things to see that they have potential to survive or to do well in our local condition.
Introducing a new crop, the preference of farmers, the highest preference is the yield. When the crops yield high, most likely the farmers are going to take it. But when it yields high also, the taste of the local varieties are much better than this other variety. It's also going to give it a big problem. So we put all these things into consideration. We make the yield test first, and then we do the palatability test and what we call the culinary test on station here with different people. So we take those results, and then later on we will select few farmers to conduct these same trials that we conduct on station here with the farmers.
Now we've introduced something that we call participatory research, because we are not doing research for ourselves. We are doing research so that the end products can get to the farmers. They are the beneficiaries. So now what we do is we bring them into the research so that we don't do everything on our own. So when we are screening, At some point in time, we will also invite farmers to look at what we are doing right from on station. But when we are doing that, we do it through the extension workers so that this pluralistic approach to research can be attained. Because now the system that we are working on is the researcher, the extension worker, and the farmer. We all work together as one when it comes to development of technologies, so that at the end of the day, it's not the product or the produce that is wholly and solely produced by research, but by all these three players, so that in the end we can all take it upon ourselves as something that is developed by all these three parties. Because if research works alone and ignore extension, then it will be very difficult for extension to push those technologies to the farmers. So that's why we are using that approach.
We have two main research stations. One is the one at Banjul in Site 3, and the other one is at Sapok, very close to the Kamaba, CRR South rather, CRR South. Those are two main stations. We have cluster sites also. Cluster sites, sub-stations and cluster station, where we do conduct our research. And we have one in Queenella, in West Coast. There's one in Mount Fana, CRR South. Then we have one in Hiroba Kunda in URR, and we have another one in one in CRR North, that's Jao. Then the final one is Bakindi in the lower. Those are the cluster sites where we also repeat our activities to see how they perform at different levels.
Okay. We know agriculture is difficult because agriculture is the business of everybody. Okay, it's not like others. People will ask, "What are you doing?" But I used to say, everybody is our client. Everybody, you eat 3 times in a day. It comes from an agricultural. How do anybody meet that demand? It's going to take a lot of effort. So that's how demanding our work is. Okay, because everybody benefits. 2 million people benefit from our end products on a daily basis, 3 times a day minimum, or at least 2 times a day. Okay, so how do you meet the demand of everybody? It's difficult. The things that you grow are developed by some people. They are called the researchers. Nobody seems to have their time. Okay, because their work takes time. Okay, their work takes a lot of patience, and then sometimes our work is not even seen. Okay, the development work is what is seen. When people grow it in hectares, in 10 hectares, in 20 hectares, that's what is seen on the cameras and shouted about. But the thing that is grown into the hectares and yield 40 tons, 200 tons has been developed. That's where it started from. You know, sometimes people are in haste. Senior technicians, politicians, they want to put money into things and show people the next day that this is what we have done. Okay, and then this side you need a lot of patience. Okay, things will have to happen in 5 years. Okay, they'll have to happen in 6 years. But we are doing the reverse in this country. We are trying to throw money into a lot of development work and then neglect the research part of it. And then that's why, for me, I think we are moving in cycles. We're just going in cycles. So the problem is understood. We have to address it by supporting the science base, and that's research. So research is a foundation. In life, everything has to be based on knowledge. Research is knowledge. It's the knowledge bank. If you want to do anything and then you don't base it on knowledge, it will look like a success while you're doing it. But just go and then leave your bag and come back later and see. It will all crumble.
The second year, what is called a multi-locational research trials. Because when you just worked on a particular crop variety in the Yundum and Sapo, that would not give you concrete results to say, okay, this particular crop can perform in the Gambia. No, because if you look at this particular country, we have 3 agroecological zones. And in all these 3 ecological zones, the rainfall, the amount that they receive is different. You have the Sahelian agroecological zone that receives between 300 to 600 millimeters of rain. And then you have the Sudano-Sahelian that receives between 600 to 900 millimeters of rainfall per annum. And also there is the Sudano-Guinean receives about 600 to 900 millimeters of rainfall. That is where West Coast is situated. That's why we are receiving a lot of rainfall around this time of the year, because it receives the highest amount of rainfall. So the multi-locational research that we are doing, we ensure that these crop varieties, before they go to the farmers, they are tested in all these agricultural zones, so that we can be able to determine in which agroecological zone a particular crop performs best.
People are trying to shorten research cycles, and we are rain-fed dependent mainly. If you only dependent on the rain, you have to take 3 years minimum just to screen a variety to know whether it's adaptable to the conditions or not. If you have good irrigation facilities, you'll do this in 1 year, probably, or 1 year 3 months, or 1 year 4 months maximum.
Then we are disseminating, then we can target those areas to disseminate these technologies. So when we are doing that during the second year, we would also give some of those varieties which we've selected with farmers for those multi-locational trials, for them to also test on their farms, so that they can also give us first-hand information, because those varieties are meant for them. So it would be good for us to also get feedback from them as to how those varieties are performing in their farms. So during the third year, all this process would be repeated to confirm as to which varieties are performing where. And then if we get to that stage, then our adaptive research is almost concluded. So our role there would be just to demonstrate good practices that we call GAP, good agricultural practices. So we will demonstrate those practices into as many communities as possible. So in that way, we will be also able to outscale, but we use the projects to be able to do that. So if we are unfortunate, projects have not come to knock at our doors, so what we do, NSS is also there, the National Seed Secretariat. They are mandated to do what is called seed multiplication. So in multiplying seeds, they would request some seeds from us. Then we will hand these seeds, those best crop varieties, which I just talked about, we will hand these seeds over to them. Then they would contract a lot of farmers, and then they would do what is called seed multiplication and give it to a lot of other farmers. So this is how NARI makes impact. That then it would be disseminated to as widely as the whole country. So as long as the finance is provided for it to be sent to the farming communities around the country.
Yandi jiare hajo angi jiare hajo manana foti wonde jiare yandi jiare ko en foyo boyta ko biyata tax lempo ko sifa an e sifa madum ara ono yobe galle har kan jiane ne horema abokada e goto an tun jeey galle ma jeeyal an andi siko terrain on tun darna wala galle darna ya fari jiare no abdu gadani ma ko weti capital gain tax hay sa anda no to on capital gain tax a foti mo yobude jonon ko no mi yobra kam ƴetta mbodi demi galle on fo boy mi no e tambud ma fo jonnaɓe de wona ɗum de on capital gain tax so kan yiyani mo hoorema kan yiyani hoore galle ɗen hoorema e foti yoɓude 5% walla 15% woni percent sappojo temedere o sappojo d'accord kon kan yiyani galle ɗen hoorema so wayno compagnie o yiyani waɗe a wawi yoɓude 10% walla 25%. ɗum noon no heddi e mbuuɗi ko yeeyiɗa galle ɗen ko ɗum woni nder naforuji heewɗi kono fimi haalnama tun seeɗa o taxe ɗum woni dépense laamu ngu on taxe yettata ɓe yoɓa police a ɓe yoɓa faya service ɗon ɓe en ka moƴƴina tali laawi ɗi ɗon ɓe moƴƴinita ɓe leɓitaji ɓe yoɓata jannoɓe ɓen ko école ji ɗin taxe ji ɓe yoɓirta ayde nde wonde ɗon ndungu si ari ɗon ɓe raɓɓen ko marché ji ɓe campagne ha fii loope ete ɗin ɓuuri ka yettata ɓe moƴƴina marché
sanga andude
après tampere o tampere ala ko ɓuri yonkude jiyaare place ji maɓɓe ɗum no heewi ɗon
joni mi yahi mi hewta e jiyaare ni
ona musidɓe a kala mo anta ko jibbinan ndi leydi walla jooɗiɗan ndi leydi waɗi wakkilade yoɓa koko ɓe wiyata taxe ko nafoore mum ko nafoore am Gambia yara yeeso.
It's the GNPC December Bonanza.
December Bonanza.
GNPC's massive December Bonanza gives you a massive discount of $2 on pump price, diesel, and petrol across all stations. From the 15th of December to the 15th of January, anytime you buy diesel or petrol, you will be getting a $2 discount per liter.
$2 discount
per liter on your purchase,
which means
the more you buy, the more you save, and the more you save, the more you get in your fuel tank. GNPC's December Bonanza, giving you that quality fuel
at a discounted price.
Get to any GNPC station and enjoy your massive December Bonanza discount.
In the case of the Gambia, I think there was a study here some couple of years ago, and then it was discovered that there is severe malnutrition in some parts of the country. I think especially in the Sierra North and then some parts of North Bank. And then normally when there's malnutrition, how it is addressed is medically through medicines. Okay, droplets that are put in the mouths of babies and all the medical stuff. These are sometimes expensive. Okay, and then sometimes it's also difficult to get to everybody using those methods. But everybody eats food. There's nobody who doesn't eat food. So I think that's where the idea comes from. How about we improve the food that we eat? Okay, instead of trying to get everybody to a medical center, why not we improve the food? Okay, that we with the same micronutrients, so that everybody can get access to this.
Scientists feel like farmers are growing food that we are eating, so they have to come up with crops, improved crops that they have these essential micronutrients, vitamin A, iron, zinc, and the other micronutrients. And then when you come to the palm millet also is very rich in carbohydrates. They come with a palm millet that is very rich in iron and zinc. This was the whole concept why biofortification basically comes to address malnutrition and also improve food and nutrition security.
I did say bio means biological. Okay, these things have been tampered with. Their genomes have been improved. Okay, and then if you're doing breathing, you can change the color anyhow you want. Okay, so that's the good thing about breathing. So they did that to distinguish them. Okay, so that they stand out. But then also it's because of the things that they add to these crop varieties. Okay, and that's why their colors are different from. So this is done by the scientists themselves. It's not by accident. Okay, it's by design. They went into a lab and designed how the colors should look like. Okay, and then all that was inputted into it biologically. So that's why it is called biofortification.
Actually, biofortification was a concept that was brought to NARI by development partners, FAO, Gambia office, and the United Purpose. They have a project which it comes to address malnutrition through agriculture, and that will be through biofortification. So when they approached NARI, NARI also consulted international partners, development partners like Israel, like CRI in Ghana, and other development institutes. So this was how the biofortification concept comes up. And then amongst this project, they selected basically 6 crops. This was millet, maize, cowpea, cassava, sweet potato, and African leafy vegetables. These are the 6 crops that these 2 projects selected.
So that's why we bring these biofortified crop varieties. We try to adapt them to our different systems in this country, because that's necessary. These are new things. If they come, you have to first try to adapt them, and then also increase the planting material. So that's where we started. We did our on-station research, went on farm and then did on-farm research on all the crop varieties. Like I mentioned, a study that was done. I think it was discovered that vitamin A was what was missing mainly, okay, especially in the kids that are 5 and below, and then also in pregnant women. But these are the two categories that are the major targets of these biofortified crops. So vitamin A is what is mainly added, but also beta carotene. In the case of the cassava or the OFSP, okay, there's also beta carotene that is also added.
You would see somebody who would eat and think is well fed, but not knowing that you lack macronutrients. So that's why it's referred to as hidden hunger, to help us to get those micronutrients into our daily diets.
So biofortification has come to address that. Okay, not just to be food self-sufficient, but then also to be nutrition self-sufficient, so that the amount of food we are eating is also quality food.
For the African leafy vegetables, these are already nutrition-rich foods which we have here, but we have to promote their consumption for farmers to be taking it, and we have to improve their production so that it can be something that farmers can go into it. So with the maize, they asked us to bring in provitamin A maize, provitamin A cassava, and orange flesh sweet potato, and then iron-rich beans and iron-rich palm millet. So through development partners in Niger, Senegal, Ghana, we bring in these varieties in the country. We made a screening first, did their adaptive research, and then later on worked with it with the farmers. And this year, we are currently working with the extension services so that this can be outskilled throughout the country. The Food and Biofortification Project basically is not only NARI. It has many implementing partners: the Ministry of Health, Department of Health Promotion, National Nutrition Agency, Food and Safety Authority, and then you have the Gambia Standard Bureau. All these institutions are in this project. But for NARI, we are closely working with the Department of Health Promotion and NANA. When we bring in these varieties, test them, screen them, and see that they can work in the country, then we made a participatory varietal selection with the farmers, where it was not only the farmers, but also the National Nutrition Agency, NANA, to sensitize farmers about the importance of these crops and about the nutrition benefits of these crops. And also the food technology services, how farmers can prepare this into different recipes, not only the local way that we know it. Because for potato or cassava, all we know here is to boil it or bake it as a snack. But while the potato, you can make it as a whole food recipe, which they have trained the farmers, making the potato into mash, making it into a dish, a sauce, and also boiling it and eating it. All these things, and frying it, making it into chips, because all we are saying, Gambians here, if you want chips, you are using the Irish potato, which it is being imported. So FAO also we are the funding agency of this particular exercise. After the on-farm screening, we also sensitize farmers about how to prepare this food, so that at least the nutritional benefits that we are talking about in these particular foods, they can have it and they can consume it, and the importance of consuming these particular crops. For the orange flesh sweet potato, we've already selected 5 varieties, which they have been approved to be released in the national catalog. We have 9 varieties on station here, but we have selected 5 varieties to be released. These varieties are Bogart, which is from the United States, CRI Bohe, which is from Ghana, Chebele, which is from Senegal, Kande, it is from Senegal, and then Somia, which is from Senegal. 3 varieties from Senegal, 1 from Ghana, and 1 from the United States. And we are left with 4 varieties. So this season also, we are doing research on those varieties to also have their good information. Anytime the need arises, they can also be approved to be released in the national catalog. All this is the work that NARI is doing. So when we are doing certain jobs, when it comes to trials, I always love being in the field, from the land preparation up to harvesting. so that whenever I am out there to talk about it, it will not need for me to take a book or a pen and read what has been done. But this, I myself have done it, do it practically, and I can tell everybody what has transpired, not what has been written in the book. So that's why I love doing work practically.
When we want to work on a particular technology, we would look around to look at the centers of excellence within the sub-region. Normally, we will contact the CGIA centers. These are the International Agricultural Research Centers. So we would work with them to source these technologies. But at times, there are also within the sub-region some very good NAS, National Agricultural Research Institute. One of them is Senegal. So we also do go to Senegal a lot of times to be able to source some very promising technologies from them. Because if we are unable to do it on our own, then we can be able to source around and bring it into the country.
The sister institution in the sub-region, ISRA of Senegal, they are NARI, IIT, based in different regions. Nigeria is the headquarters, Africa Rice, they have different stations, some stations are in Senegal, some are in Burkina, some in other places. Then ICRISAT, the groundnuts, they came from ICRISAT, Mali. They have a sub-station at Mali. They have some breeders there. Every year they are breeding new different varieties. So when they are ready, they are waiting for regional partners like NARI. Anybody who is interested, you place your request that you need this crop, this number of varieties, these varieties that are suitable for this level. Some are early maturing, some are tolerant of aflatoxin, some are drought tolerant. Depending on your request, they will send you those seeds, but in very small quantities. Because when they started, they sent always 100 kernel seeds of groundnut for each of them. We tested them at the research station here, at site 3, the first year. We screened them, including our local varieties, because we always use our local varieties to compare them with the new ones coming. But they did very well the first year. Then from there, we developed a national program. There's a varietal trial where we can expand more. So based on that, in all these locations, we are screening the same information, parameters. But we came up at the end of the day that we found out that these 5 varieties, they were the best varieties. And they are early maturing, they are high yielding, and most of them are tolerant to drought. And there are some which are also tolerant to aflatoxin, those varieties. All the varieties are labeled, they have their names. Because some of them, are, these 63 varieties I'm referring to, most of them are very similar, most of them are confectionery type. They have high sugar content, but the oil content is low. Some, only two of them has high oil content. So those ones, at field level, you can differentiate them at field level. The oil type has a darker green leaf at field level. The confectionery type has a lighter green leaf at field level. And the advantage with the oil type, though they are late maturing, but they are more tolerant to drought, and they maintain their green color, the leaves. And secondly, once the pod is attached to the peg, they will never germinate. But with the confectionery types, once they are mature, if there is moisture inside the soil, if you don't harvest, you lose everything. They start germinating again inside the soil. Those are the disadvantages of the confectionery, but they are early maturing and high sugar content. That's why in most of the supermarkets, you found those confectionery types. They are placed in the local the supermarkets because people use it for consumption or for domestic use. Because like if you want to prepare, then chura get it. Yes, it's better you go for the confectionery type. You need less sugar because the sugar content is high. But if you need more oil, you go for the oil type.
Mango fruit fly is an insect belonging to the family of Triphidae, which is a very devastating pest, and it is invasive. It has caused a lot of problems in the sub-region. It has caused significant mango damage, which is equivalent to $2.5 million per year. And this is what necessitated for ECOWAS to put up a regional project to help develop control strategies to help reduce the fruit fly damage on mangoes in the region. For the fruit fly project, it came into being in 2014, but NARI actually joined in 2015. We had conducted a series of research in both West Coast and North Bank region on the evaluation of botanicals and oxymum cannon. Different countries have different strategies, but for us we focused on the use of botanicals. We identified 3 botanicals that we worked on successfully, and then these were implemented in both in the West Coast region and then the North Bank region. The most unfortunate thing then was farmers really didn't know what it was. They were relating it to diseases, because once a mango is contaminated, it will, after 4 days, it will rot, and then they will think it is a disease, when actually it's the fruit fly that will lay its eggs in the mango. Then after 3 to 5 days, these eggs will hatch and start feeding inside the mango, and as a secondary infection, either bacteria or fungus will enter, and then the mango will get rotten. So they were kind of confused. They didn't know what it really was. And then also the main control method was they were using pesticides, which is also another problem of its own. As we know, it causes a lot of problems in the environment. It causes environmental pollution and human poisoning. Like any other insect, they are always existing within the environment. That is, they go in japos, they hide somewhere either inside the soil or in host plants, where they hide until at such time that the conditions are favorable that they will come out to do some of the damage that they will do on their hosts. So long as there is vegetation within the environment, they are likely to exist. They can exist for a long time. So with the mango fruit fly, it is invasive in the sense that it came from somewhere. They can fly long distances in a short period of time. They can be brought into the country by human travelers bringing small quantities of plants or fruits which are contaminated, because as we all know, in the Gambia, our borders are very porous. There are phytosanitary posts, but you can always manage to escape without them seeing. So it was noticed in this country in the early as 2006, and at the end of the project, we were able to identify botanicals that has the potential to control fruit fly damage on mango up to by 45%.
In fact, when this agroforestry research started here, agroforestry is not new. People have been doing it since time immemorial. But then the name agroforestry is what was lacking. Just like climate change. Climate change is nothing new. Everything that NARI does is climate smart agriculture. It's just now that we are calling it that name because of the emergence of climate change. So when agroforestry started here, that would be somewhere in the late 1980s. Our former Director General, we have to credit him for that, Mr. Ansumana Jaju, may his soul rest in perfect peace. He's the one who started the agroforestry program. He's the like the specialist, the trained agroforester. The first one that I ever know in this country. He started the program and he started with forestry. So forestry helped a lot in like stabilizing the agroforestry research of NARI. And then we continue to collaborate with them because they have a vast knowledge when it comes to indigenous tree species. So we are benefiting from their vast knowledge, but we're also making best use of their facilities around the country. So there's a lot of collaboration between us and then the forestry department. Okay, because we know how agriculture contributes to climate change is mainly through deforestation. Because what used to happen is we do what we call, you take the farms to the forest. That's the system here. You have to cut all the virgin forest in order to expand our farmlands. In fact, that's why, like everywhere, if you go to North Bank, everything is down. The vegetation is down. And it's mainly because people have to cut them to grow crops. So agriculture has contributed significantly to the climate change problems that this country and many other countries are facing today. So agriculture has to also be responsible for addressing it. Okay, and how does agriculture help to address this? Is to reverse the trend. Instead of taking the farms to the forest, now we take the forest to the farms. Okay, so that we have all these lands that are cleared for crop production. Now we are trying to bring trees back to those lands so that we have the two. Because it's only when we have the two that there will be a balance. Because people must grow crops to live on. Okay, and then the forest must also be maintained because we know trees will help bring the rains. They will also help reduce the winds and then like take care of many other things, even the air that we breathe. Okay, but at the same time, people also need to grow crops. So which one do we sacrifice for which? Okay, and then now there's this system that can bring the compromise. We can have them both. We can have the forest and then have the crops at the same time, and that's agroforestry. Okay, because we know our soils are poor. Okay, mainly because of continuous crop cultivation. Okay, that is a natural way you can improve your soil fertility, wherein you won't apply fertilizer, or at least you will apply minimum fertilizer. That is by using trees. Okay, there are trees that are able to recycle nitrogen into the soil. Okay, there are many. Okay, so they are called nitrogen fixing leguminous trees. So this is one thing that agroforestry is very much interested in. Okay, and then we do what we call cut and carry. Okay, either these trees could be in your farm perimeters or even somewhere else. You just go and cut the leaves and then come and dump into your soil, allow them to decompose, and then you till the soil with it, and then that really replenish the fertility of the soil. But then also there's a system where you can plant these trees in alley, what you call alley farming. Okay, you plant them at a certain distance to allow mechanization to take place. For example, 10 meters or 15 or even 20, so that tractors can move in between them. Okay, there are trees that would shed all their leaves. For example, the Acacia albida. Okay, the famous Acacia albida. It will shed all its leaves during the wet season, and then those leaves are highly nitrogenous. They have a lot of nitrogen in them. Okay, we also using Lucina for that. Lucina also have a very high nitrogen in the leaves. So we either use it as cut and carry. That's when the season is coming, we go and like prune, carry all the leaves, dump it into the field, or just allow the leaves to drop on their own and then they decompose. So like agroforestry is really like the way forward if we have to address the climate change problems we are currently facing. We are also working with the farmers. We have a lot of expertise when it comes to handling these multi-purpose tree species. So we are also providing trainings for farmers and also doing sensitization programs to promote the idea of agroforestry so that people will appreciate it. Okay, it's known. People know that trees have a lot of value, but it has to be promoted. It has to be researched on. Okay, new ways have to be found out. Okay, so that we can move the idea forward.
It's the GNPC December Bonanza.
December Bonanza.
GNPC's massive December Bonanza gives you a massive discount of $2 on pump price, diesel, and petrol across all stations. From the 15th of December to the 15th of January, anytime you buy diesel or petrol, you will be getting a $2 discount per liter.
$2 discount
Per liter on your purchase.
which means
The more you buy, the more you save. And the more you save, the more you get in your fuel tank. GNPC's December Bonanza, giving you that quality fuel
at a discounted price.
Get to any GNPC station and enjoy your massive December Bonanza discount.
Insight on the NDP television series, proudly sponsored by Gambia Revenue Authority, Gambia Ports Authority, Petrogas, and GNPC. Airing every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on GRTS, QTV, Star TV, and Sahel Network TV.
People should stop doubting. First thing, people should stop doubting NARI. There are people here who definitely want to work for this country. They are all here. You know why they are here? Love for country. They could have gone. All of us have the opportunity to go, but we are not going. You know, I try to build a very strong relationship with them. You know, if you see me sometimes, they don't take me as director or something. Of course, they give me the maximum report, but I try to tell them that this is our country. Nobody is going to build this for them. And the current government is saying, is showing those signs that we should stay and work for our country. So let's stay. That's why you have all these PhDs there. They're not going anywhere. They're here. This is it. We want to participate because nobody is going to develop this country for us. We are the one who should develop our own, especially the youth. It's our responsibility. That's why I always tell people that every youth man, you must either have a trade, an occupation, or a job, so that you can carry other people's burden and not you yourself be a burden to others. This dependency syndrome, you should kick it out. Everybody must have a job or something. You carry other people's burden. Don't be a burden to others.
For me, I have passion in general for horticulture because my director will say that horticulture is my DNA. I was trained in horticulture since I was a child. My father was a professional gardener, and I came to be in the agricultural system and found myself working in the horticultural sector. And what I love most is the practical aspect of it. Not only sitting down, especially in these days now where you know the world is a global village, learning through the computer, giving people instructions to do it. I don't believe in that. All I believe in, what I have learned, let me come together with people, we do it together and see that what we have learned, it has worked out. That is what I believe in.
Research, you have to do a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, okay? You have to do a lot of scientific reading. So it's difficult, and then it's not, financially it's not very rewarding if you compare it to other activities, because this is a very honorable thing to do. Okay, it's a very honorable thing. You know your work is impacting lives. People may not know it, but we know our work is impacting lives, and that is satisfactory. It's very, very satisfactory. Yes, so I wouldn't change my career. Yes, I don't say I would not do other things, but the question is whether I regret this and then I would have changed it for something else. No, I like this field very well.
NARI has 411 hectares of land. In Banjulunding here, Site 3, we have 50 hectares fence. And from records, that place was here since colonial time, since the 1930s or so. SAPO has been established for quite a long time. Actually, NARI has 3 research centers, Yundum, SAPO, and Jirobakunda. But SAPO, for me, should have been the referral center of agriculture. Anything, just like RVTH is, SAPO should have been like that for agriculture. But the infrastructure is really dilapidated now. We are trying our best to see how best we can. Sometimes we find it very difficult to accommodate our people there. This year we posted 10 people there, but it was difficult on us to fix their rooms and other things.
During the First Republic, research was not having problem. By then we have few scientists. We cultivated vast areas more than now. Now we have more scientists, but we are doing very little now.
Once our allocation is given to us, all that we do is normally we report back to the National Assembly because we are a subvented institute. So once they give us some money to conduct our research, then they would want us to report back as to how that money was spent. But there has never been any time in particular for them to tell us, this is how we will use it, this is how, because what we do is we send in our budget, work plan and budget, that this is what we want to do and this is the amount of money that we need to do this. So at the end of the year, every year we report back to the NAMS. Yes, but there have never been any interference, no.
But during the Second Republic, we had a series of problems. The first one was, NARI was forced to move from the where the army camp is. We are based in Yundum. We are forced to move from Yundum to Birkama. Then the second thing is also, look at the Sapo also. Sapo research stations is now dominated by the military. And Sapo is a research agricultural campus. It's dominated by the military. There was a time, even during the Second Republic, if in NARI, when you need land at Kerawan Field, you have to take permission from the army. And people complain several times, but nothing has been done. And even the guest house there, which is meant there for NARI to generate resources, is controlled by the army. And still now we cannot get access to those ones. And this has been reported to many people, the ministers went there several times, nothing happened. Go to Site 3 right now. When you go to Site 3, you see the fence, WAP built that fence just to secure the crop, the ground there. But if you go there, there are more than 5 gates opened by that community, just to have easy access to the market. People complain several times, we report matters to governors, the chiefs, then up to the local government, the minister, they are all involved. But nothing has been done.
Lan bi so yoon bi rek a baax waaye war leen fee jaar de
Lands or local government at large, we met with the permanent secretary there. Right now we have written a cabinet paper. That's our final call now. We have written a cabinet paper and we'll see what the cabinet will do about it, asking them to make sure that people of Babylon, because there's a new settlement, refrain from vandalizing our fence and use it as a passage to get to the highway. This is where we generate our technologies. This is where we can test our crops and bring in farmers, convergent, bring in farmers to see. So if people are vandalizing it there and we go up to police level, they cannot stop it. That's really discouraging. Everybody is given the freedom to, at least to say what he thinks is right. This is very good. This is what we call democracy. And this is what workers want. Civil servants need to be secure. They need to be very comfortable, because if you are not comfortable, you cannot think. And we do a lot of thinking. So thank God that we are sleeping now. So we may want government to help us, really. NARI, people think that we are not doing anything, but we are trying our best, and we have committed people.
The contributions of horticultural research in the NDP, first of all, I can say women empowerment is key, because the horticultural sector is being dominated by women. Always, like the technologies we talked about, when we are training, when it is for 20 people, 15 are going to be women. The horticultural sector is playing a key role. Research is playing a key role in nutrition security, supporting women, training women on how to get good nutrition from the crops that they are producing. I think the biofortification specifically comes to address malnutrition and good health. So, because when you are healthy, you will not always be often using the hospitals, which will reduce the burden on the government in buying drugs and so. And all of us know that these drugs are being bought on subsidies.
The NDP is working. Because if you look at it, there are projects on the ground that are working to implement activities which are going to achieve some of the objectives within the NDP. So if those projects are able to achieve those objectives, then we can say the NDP, even though the process is a bit slow, but we are moving forward.
We are here as Gambians supporting our government, especially in the area of the National Development Plan. We are making sure that the plans laid and the objective laid in the National Development Plans is being achieved before 2021. We are making all efforts to see that this thing is something that the Gambians realized when they sit down on their bed, especially in the agricultural sector. The major microeconomic sector when it comes to the governance of the Gambia. And horticulture plays a key role in this economic sector. That's why we are not laying down our shoulders. We are always working to see that the National Development Plan is achieved.